everyone, my name is Vondechii and I'm the CEO and founder of Vondechii's Vault. Today, I would love to go over the 12 different types of witches that are probably creating magic all around you. So let's get started. So the first witch we're going to be talking about today is labeled as the traditional witch. So basically, traditional witches are witches who have a base in the history of witchcraft and the old craft that came before Wicca. They take a more historical approach to their practice and often will study their ancestors or other folklore attached to witchcraft. The traditional witches want to honor the old ways of practicing their craft and will often focus on working with the local history and spirits of where they are or where they've come from. While these witches do hold old history and customs in high regard, they're absolutely contemporary traditional witches, just practicing today. Now, let's talk about the second type of witch. The second type of witch we're going to go over is the sea witch. A sea witch has strong ties to the water and the ocean and uses the element of water often in her practice. Sea and ocean magic will often utilize sand, shells, driftwood, or other elements that come from that place. Sea witches feel connected to the water and ancient folklore involving sirens and mermaids. The next type of witch we are going to be talking about is the kitchen witch. Kitchen witch, also known as a home witch, create most of their magic at home and or in the kitchen. They are very home-based, often incredibly nurturing, and love to make their home a truly special and sacred place. So kitchen witches love to cook, they love to brew, they use herbs, sometimes gathered from their own garden, and when practicing, they combine their own personal and individual magic energies with essential oils, herbs, food, and everyday objects to create their spells, rituals, and magic. The next type of witch we're going to be talking about today is the hedge witch. And hedge witches practice what's known as hedge jumping, which is venturing out of this world and into another world. Hedge witches can communicate with the spiritual world and send messages between both worlds. Hedge witches practice astral projection, as well as work with herbs and earth-based magic. But what makes them specifically a hedge witch is their ability to cross the hedge, aka the boundary between this world and the spirit world. It's thought that the flying on a broomstick legend was a misunderstanding based on hedge witches flying into the spiritual realm. Elemental witches study and practice based on 4 elements: earth, air, wind, and fire. An elemental witch works by honoring each element and may have an altar for each specific element. Elemental witches call on elements when casting spells and performing rituals, and may even have an element that they personally identify with and work towards finding. Ceremonial witch. Ceremonial witches have many practices, but ceremonies and rituals are practices that they hold, especially in high regard. Ceremonial magic is worked into most of the practices they hold. So they likely work a ceremony or a ritual into whatever they're casting or trying to accomplish. Ceremonial witches often call on specific beings and spiritual entities to assist them in whatever they're casting. Green witches are highly connected to the earth and the energy that the earth possesses. They may have their own garden where they grow their own herbs, but they also study in their area and practice with local plants and their own environment. So green witches use plants and greenery in their spells and magic, and sometimes even in their cooking at home. Green witches are often very natural and love to be in nature and near anything green, like plants, trees, flowers, and they do this to be as close to Mother Nature and the spirit she encompasses as possible. A hereditary witch is a witch that was born into witchcraft. It is a part of their family and or their lineage. Their magic and practices are passed down from previous generations, though they may work with their own individual practices as well, or instead of their families. However, there still is a choice. Hereditary witches must be born into witchcraft, but if you do not choose to practice, you won't still be a hereditary witch. The cosmic witch. Cosmic witches are contemporary witches who look to the cosmos, astrology, astronomy, and work those energies and celestial energies into their practice. also called star witches. These witches often follow the planets and their alignment and the alignment of the stars. They base their spells and rituals on different placements. Secular witch. Secular witches still cast spells, use crystals and candles, herbs and oils, but they don't attach spirituality to their practice. So basically, secular witches don't support a deity or worship a higher being. Their practice is entirely non-religious, so they don't believe in the power behind or that there is energy in their work. But this isn't to say that secular witches can't be spiritual. It's simply that their work is not. The two are entirely separate. Solitary witch. Solitary witch can be any type of witch, but they choose to practice alone rather than in a coven. Their practice derives from many sources and ultimately becomes the witch's own. They may worship a higher being, or their practice may be primarily secular, or it might be its own kind of spiritual. This could be by choice or because they haven't found a group to work with yet. There are also legends that solitary witches are reincarnations of witches who have been practicing for generations, and at puberty, their knowledge is awakened. Since they already remember and understand their craft, their need for a coven is less than a newer witch. The eclectic witch. An eclectic witch does not have one set of religion, practice, tradition, or culture that they pull from. Their practice derives from many sources and ultimately becomes the witch's own. They may worship a higher being, or their practice may be primarily secular, or it might be its own kind of spiritual. So an eclectic witch ultimately makes their own rules with their practice. It is entirely unique based on the individual witch. So thank you so much for watching my video on the different types of witches that you may be coming across or that may be doing magic around you. If you would like to watch other witchy wellness videos like this one, please go to my website. It's www.vondechii.com. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you there. Bye. Bye.